college. Gonna get back to the 76 K5 Blazer I bought a while back. If you watched the video earlier in the series of videos I have, you'll see that I bought the 73. Well, the 73 ended up being a little bit more than I wanted to jump on, and figured out it was gonna be more of a long-term project. So I was messing around one day and I found this one, which needs way less work. And the idea was, okay, I'll get this one going because I pretty much have an engine, everything for this one. I'll drive it while I work on the other one, and then eventually I'll figure out what I want to do with it, you know? So, you know how that goes, it kind of ends up going overboard. This thing it came from South Texas. They ran it off in a creek and hydro-locked the engine. So if you've seen an earlier video, we got that engine out. Since then, it kind of got put on the back burner because I'm trying to get the green one running. Trying to get a few other little projects. Maybe added another project to my collection. So it's like, okay, put it to the side. If you notice, I'm not at my shop. I'm over at Matt's shop, you know. So I've been storing it over here, working on it a little bit as we've been working on projects and stuff. And you've noticed, it's got a different set of wheels and tires on it now. And then we've done an upgrade on the frame. We've done the Offroad Design weld-on frame brace and the brace support. So I'm getting ready to bolt that stuff back up. We've painted the frame, painted the steering box. I've got the brake parts. If I've got time today, I'll go ahead and put the brake hoses on it and everything. So let's dig in. I'll go over kind of what I'm working on, what's been done, but we'll try to get a little bit down on this that way. I've got a few brake lines to make on the green 73, and it will be headed over to my grandfather's place in my other storage spot, and this will be coming back to my house. So yeah, get a little bit down on this and try to get closer to swapping all the vehicles out and getting after it. So what we decided to do here is we went with the Offroad Design weld-on frame brace. Now mind you, this thing had no cracks in it. That's one of the deciding factors why I bought these two Blazers, was I looked over the steering box. Usually these frames are cracked and busted and torn up, you know. Luckily these two vehicles were not that I had, these two Blazers. So yeah, I'd like to take all the credit for all the welding and all the work, but I had to get a hold of Matt here, and he's getting himself quite a little fab shop set up. We've went in and got a few different tools and all that kind of stuff for the welding and everything, and I just went ahead and had him do this for me, as I just got a lot to do and I didn't have time to do it. But yeah, he did a pretty phenomenal job on welding that brace in. And I don't know if we can see on the inside, kind of welded up and did a little bit of work in here. So yeah, I would say that is definitely pretty solid. And then here's the part number of what we decided to use on the weld-on frame repair. So worked out pretty good. And also, to top it off, went ahead and went with this frame brace. So maybe it's kind of overkill, but I'm gonna go ahead and install this today. This goes on the inside of the frame here. Might have to drill a hole, may not, but it'll go across this way and support the frame like that as well. So I'm gonna double up on the strength. Like I said, that's a big weak point on these K5s and K10s. You know, that steering box, you go with the big tires and all that kind of stuff, it really puts the stress on it. So definitely a good idea to go ahead and get that done. So yeah, I'm gonna get started on bolting that stuff on and finish install the steering box and everything else. So in my opinion and my experience I've had, because I learned this with my first K5 I had, before you load the cooler down full of bush heavies, let your mullet wave in the wind and start jamming this thing in mud holes and on rocks. I would definitely take the time, take a weekend, order these parts and get it installed, because that will definitely save on busting the frame and tearing your truck up, you know. And with the value of these things, it's definitely money well spent. So I'm gonna get the bolting this stuff on again. All right, so before I get started on the Blazer, I was going to give you guys some insight on what I've got coming up and what are the projects I'm working on too. Some of you may recognize this rig right here. This is my 85 F-150 that I've had. And if you kind of notice that already, it looks like with this channel, I'm like a diehard Chevy guy, you know, and I am. I love Chevrolets, but I also love Fords and I love Dodges too. So, and out of all the vehicles I've got, this bad boy has been around longer than anything. I've had this for about 25 years. So, used to be my grandpa's truck and all that kind of stuff. I'll do a review on it coming up. Got a lot of stuff. It's went through a lot. It was a really nice truck, but just give you a little look at it. It's got 36s on it and solid axle swap and blah, 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 all that good stuff. Not too shabby. But yeah, I'll have a video review of that coming up soon. But we've went in together. We bought, because we're going to do a flatbed on this because the original bed was just beat to death after all the four-wheeling. We went in together, got us a JD squared tubing bender. So we look to be messing up a lot of DOM tubing trying to figure this out. But so far we started on the flatbed project, and that's about as far as we've made it. So, but yeah, you'll see a full review on that, and we'll be out smashing rocks here before long. But yeah, out of everything, like I love muscle cars, I love drag racing, I love vintage pickups and all that kind of stuff. I'm really like a four-wheel drive guy at heart. Like, out of all the things I've had to go drag racing with, I've been very fortunate to get some cool stuff. I've had more seat time in that Ford than I have in anything. Like, I want to say I've had a whole lot more fun with it. So that's why because you get the adventure and all that kind of stuff. So that's, and I don't have near as much money in it either. Like if you know, or be somewhat industrious and like find the parts that work. Like this thing doesn't have 1-ton axles. It doesn't have 40-inch tires on it. It is locked up in the rear. It's still got an open diff in the front. Well, I'll get to that in the review, but I am going to lock up the front, and it does really, really well for what it is. So, and no more than what I really have in it. So let's get started. Okay, so I got the steering box sitting here, and it is upside down. But this bracket here will go, or maybe I get it wrong, like this here, screw into the steering box. This front side right here goes into this extra little hole that's in the middle of this little cross member here. It was pretty small, about like a 3/8 size, so I opened it up where it would fit the bolt. So I went ahead and drilled that out. So yeah, this will all kind of go together as one piece. So I'll try to get the best footage I can of that. I am by myself, and this looks like it's going to be a wrestling job. So this little bracket right here that they supplied goes on the front, and it goes right up in here, bolts to the frame, right on the very front driver's side here. We're gonna get ready to put the inside brace on with the steering box. So yeah, I'm just trying to get this stuff hung in here and fit up. So I wrestled that pig on there. Gives you an idea how it's bolting up. This power steering pump, like, of all my times working on cars and everything, like, that thing just flops around and gets in the way of everything. And it's really a pain in the butt. But it's on there. So I got a few more bolts to put in and run through there and get this mounted up. So yeah, man, it's getting after it. Gotta put that steering shaft on, pitman arm, and yeah, this is pretty much, it needs to be torqued down. I believe it said 80 foot-pounds, so we'll do that very last. I may call it quits tonight before I do that, but yep. So got the third bolt through that bracket. I mount everything in really loose, That way I can get everything lined up. And one thing I was thinking about while I did this is you think about, oh man, just hit it with the impact and zip it on in there, it doesn't matter. Well, if you cross thread this stuff, you're gonna ruin your steering box. So I always like to mount everything in by hand. At least get it started by hand, use your impact to kind of bump it. But, you know, and I got to thinking, man, when you do find these cars, and you're like, gosh, why is that stripped out? And why is this damaged and messed up? You know, and I get to thinking, I have to think about what it would be like back 25 years ago. These cars, these are not necessity, man. These are novelty. These are for fun nowadays. Like, this isn't the commonplace in transportation. And, you know, you got to take your time when you're doing this. And most folks, when they had these 25, 30 years ago, this was, it was broken and they had to go to work in the morning. So they did what they had to do to get by, to keep these things on the road. So, like, I hear all kinds of people, man, why did they use chicken wire and Bondo and all that kind of stuff? You had to use what you had. You didn't have replacement panels. You didn't have all the stuff readily available. You had salvage yards, and you didn't have, at least from the way I gather it, all the aftermarket parts. So you were going to the scrapyard pulling transmissions, pulling this, doing this. So, you know, I get why people did what they did back then, you know. Because, like I said, they had to get to work the next day, you know. Had to go make that money. And these were the common vehicles to drive every day. These weren't like what we have them where they're just play toys, you know. None of this stuff is necessity now where it was back then. And if this thing was down, somebody didn't get to work, kids didn't eat, you know. You got to buy the kids shoes, so you got to keep these rigs on the road. So that's why they did what they did. And that's my take on it anyways. Cinematic crap. So check it out. I thought this would be a neat thing to show. It's like right here, inside your like ball joints, your tie rod ends, your pitman arms, and all that stuff. There's a inside socket that goes in here. It's kind of like a knee, it puts you in the mind of like your knee socket or your shoulder or whatever. It goes in there and it's cupped and beveled in there like that. So what happens, you put this together and you'll start tightening it up and it's like the whole thing starts spinning because it can spin inside there and you're like, dude, what do? I can't get this tightened up. So what I usually do, you can take a bottle jack and just barely put some pressure because that part that seats up into like the pitman arm or the ball joint or the spindle, it's kind of like a cone shape. Well, when it goes in there, it seats in that, and then you can tighten it up and it'll hold up the slack. So right now, if I spin this, the whole threads and everything, see how it fell out? It spins. So what I like to do is I will just take and pry up on that, try to get that to seat, and then I can get enough threads in here, and now the whole socket isn't spinning. I can go ahead and tighten that down. I hope you can see it, what I got going on here, but just gives you an idea of what you can do. And it's spinning the whole thing again. I may have to get a bottle jack on it, but there we go. It's just one of those things, because that's what will happen too when I take them apart. It'll spin and I got to put pressure on it, especially like a lower ball joint. See, it's wanting to spin again before it tries to seat. Sorry about that, I bumped the camera. And wouldn't you know, here in Oklahoma, we got some rain yesterday. It was super nice for about 20 hours, and now it is humid and hot. So yeah, we get the best, well, I don't know, we get the best of much anything. You don't get much fall and you don't get much spring. It's either super cold or it is goes to about 60s and 70s for like a week, and then it gets up in the 90s and 100s with a pretty decent amount of humidity. So but I'll take the summertime any way I can get it. Okay, so that should just about, let me get a little bit more on it. That'll do it. So that's seated in there. We just gotta hook the steering shaft up. And this project right here is done aside from torquing down all those bolts. So yeah, I'm trying to find a cotter key to put in that. I have them at my house, a whole kit of them, but I can't seem to find any here. So we'll definitely put a cotter key back in that, but that's tight. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten that up, and then might go ahead and change the brake hoses. So the Offroad Design steering box, it's on, the brace is on, everything's mounted up and torqued. I wasn't able to get to the brake lines and all that good stuff today, so let's do it another day. Like I said, this is a necessity. This isn't like something that's got to be done in the morning. Just taking our time with it, man, just getting every little thing done piece by piece. Still got to do some more cleaning and painting. Gonna put new motor mounts. I might try to just go ahead and get the brakes all done while it's sitting here, because it's taken me longer than I thought it would on that 73 to get it done, to get the brakes working on it too. So, so yeah, that'll be a wrap on this part. Trying to think of what else I need to say about it. What else we have to do? Yeah, it's very close. Like I said, get the brakes working, just get everything clean and detailed up like I want, and then shoot this thing over at my shop, and then I'll start putting the drivetrain in and getting it on the road. And then here soon, we'll be taking this thing probably on like about a 500 or 600 mile road trip, getting the bugs lined out of it, probably do some bike riding or some camping, some type of something like that, you know. Have some fun before it gets winter time, gets really cold. So yeah, if you like what I'm doing here, like, tag, subscribe, share it on Facebook, share it with your friends, whatever you want to do. But yeah, definitely going to be more videos like this. Like I said, I got my F-150 we're building a bed on. I'm going to have to pull the rear end out of that 72 C20, and I think I'm just going to have a guy rebuild it, go over it, because like sometimes you just got to let the professionals do some of that stuff, because it's got more damage inside of it than what I thought. So it's going to get just about completely rebuilt. So I've got to get that pulled. The transmission's still getting rebuilt at the shop, so I'm kind of at a standstill on that. So probably the next week I'll be getting that rear end pulled out of the C20, and I'll make a little video on that. Get that housing pulled out of it. That way it's so much easier just to pull the axle, take it to them, than take the whole truck over there and they've got to move it around and all that kind of stuff. So I prefer to do it, and I'm going to clean it up and make it look nice. Trying to think of what else, and then I got to make the hard lines for the rear of the 73, and then I'll be doing a drive on that one, like a first drive. I've just drove it around my field in front of my house. So yeah, I'm anxious to get that on the road and see how it does. So yeah, if you like what I'm doing, I'll be back with more. So thanks.